Dear students, today let's discuss about micro-teaching, concept and features. Introduction. The art of teaching does not merely involve a simple transfer of knowledge from one to other. Instead, it is a complex process that facilitates and influences the process of learning. Quality of a teacher is estimated on how much the students understands from his or her teaching. The classrooms cannot be used as a learning platform for acquiring primary teaching skills. The pedagogic skill for teaching can be acquired only through more structured and cheaper faculty training techniques. Coming to the concept, micro-teaching is one of the most recent innovations in teachers' education or training programs which aims at modifying teachers' behavior according to specific objectives. It is a process of subjecting to recording, reviewing, responding, refining, and redoing. Micro-teaching is a controlled practice that makes it possible to concentrate on teaching behavior in the student-teacher training programs. It can be applied at various pre-service and in-service stages at the professional development of teachers. It provides teachers with a practice setting for instruction in which the normal complexities of the classrooms are reduced and in which the teacher receives a great deal of feedback on his performance. There are many definitions on micro-teaching. Let's discuss. Bush in 1968 defined micro-teaching as a teacher education technique which allows teachers to apply clearly defined teaching skills to carefully prepared lessons in a planned series of 5 to 10 minutes group encounters with a small group of real students, often with an opportunity to observe the results on videotape. Allen in 1976 says micro-teaching is a scaled-down technique encounter in class size and class time. Singh L.C. in 1977 says micro-teaching is a scaled-down teaching encounter where a teacher teaches a small unit to a group of 5 pupils for a small period of 5 to 20 minutes. Such a situation offers a helpful setting for an experienced or inexperienced teacher to acquire new teaching skills and to refine the old ones. Micro-teaching is now a teacher training technique that is currently practiced worldwide and provides teachers an opportunity to perk up their teaching skills by improving various simple tasks called teaching skills. In fact, helps to promote real-time teaching experience. The core skills of micro-teachings such as presentation and reinforcement skills help the novice teachers to learn the art of teaching at ease and to maximum extent. The advantage of this technique is that it can be applied at both pre-service and in-service stages in the professional development of teachers. It provides the teachers with a practice setting for instructions in which the normal complexities of the classrooms are reduced and in which the teacher receives a great deal of feedback on his performance. To minimize the complexities of the normal teaching encounter, several dimensions are limits. The length of the lesson is reduced, the scope of the lesson is narrowed, and the teacher teaches only few students. Basically, in micro-teaching, the trainee is engaged to a scaled-down teaching technique. It is scaled down in terms of class size, say 5 to 10 students, lesson of the reduced time 5 to 10 minutes, even in terms of teaching tasks. The teaching task may include the practicing and mastering of a specific teaching skill such as lecturing or teaching explanation, questioning or leading a discussion, mastering of specific teaching strategies, flexibility, etc. Only one skill or task is taken up at a time. If possible, microlesson is videotaped or tape recorded. The student teacher immediately views his lessons, evaluates it, amends his approach, reteaches the lesson to another group of pupils, reviews and evaluates. Coming to the features of microteaching, we can study the features of microteaching as follows. Number 1, new innovation. Number 2, real teaching. Number 3, scaled down teaching. Number 4, individualized teaching device. Number 5, providing feedback. Number 6, device for preparation of teachers. Number 7, selecting and mastering one skill at a time. Number 8, using videotape and CCTV to make easy observations. And number 9, analytic approach to training. There are some components of microteaching. They are number 1, a teacher. Number 2, the pupils, usually 5 to 7. Number 3, a brief lesson. Number 4, the objectives of the specific microteaching occasion. And number 5, feedback by the supervisor or by using audio tape recordings, videotape recordings or closed-circuit television. Objectives of microteaching. The objectives of microteaching are number 1, to give practice teaching to the teachers and the training by lessening the complexities of classroom situations. Number 2, to identify the drawbacks of the teachers and to give immediate feedback for modifying their behavior. Number 3, to develop experimental teacher education programs and to encourage research identifying new teaching skills. And lastly, number 4, to improve teaching through more control of instructional process and supervision. Microteaching is a relatively new innovation in the field of teacher education. It is real teaching but focuses on developing teaching skills. It is scaled down teaching in terms of class size, duration size of the lesson, and a particular teaching skill at a time. It is highly individualized training device. It provides adequate feedback for trainees' performance. In fact, it is a device for preparing effective teachers. It provides opportunities to select one skill and practice it through scale-down encounter and then take others in a similar way. It takes use of videotape and closed-circuit television and thus making observation very effective. We can say that microteaching is an analytic approach to training. Coming to the procedures of microteaching, microteaching includes the following procedures. Number 1, defining a skill. A particular skill is defined to trainees in terms of teaching behaviors to provide the knowledge and awareness of teaching skills. Number 2, demonstrating the skill. The specific skill is demonstrated by the experts or shown through videotape or film to the teacher trainee. Number 3, planning the lesson. The student teacher plans a short or micro lesson with the help of his supervisor in which he can practice a particular skill. Number 4, teaching the lesson. The pupil teacher teaches the lesson to a small group of pupils, 5 to 10. The lesson is observed by the supervisor or peers or videotaped or audio taped or through CCTV. Number 5. Discussion. The teaching is followed by discussion to provide the feedback to the trainee. The awareness of his own teaching performance provides the reinforcement to the pupil teacher. Number 6. Replanning. In the light of the discussion and suggestions, the pupil teacher replans the lesson in order to practice the particular skill effectively. Number 7. Reteaching. The revised lesson is retaught to another small group of students of the same class for the same duration to practice the particular skill. Number 8. Rediscussion. The reteaching is again followed by discussion, suggestions, and encouraging the teaching performance. Thus, feedback is again provided to the trainee. Number 9. Repeating the cycle. The teach-reteach cycle is repeated till the desired level of skill is achieved. So thus, we find that in micro-teaching, the pupil teacher tries to complete the 5 R's, that is, recording, reviewing, responding, refining, and redoing it. It can be diagrammatically represented as plan, teach, feedback, replan, reteach, refeedback. Phases of micro-teaching. According to Clift in 1976, micro-teaching has 3 phases. Number 1, knowledge acquisition phase. Number 2, skill acquisition phase. And number 3, transfer phase. Now, Clift in 1976 has diagrammatically represented the 3 phases as follows. Number 1, knowledge acquisition phase. At this phase, the skill is analyzed and thoroughly discussed with the supervisor. Every opportunity is given to the students to get clarification of the purpose and uses of the skill in the classroom. The demonstrations of the skill is given to the trainees. The next phase is skill acquisition phase. In this phase, the trainee prepares a micro lesson and implements the lesson plan for the skill. He practices the skill and carries out the micro-teaching cycle. This phase incorporates the following 3 sessions: plan session, teach session, and feedback session. The third phase is transfer phase. Here, the student teacher learns to organize and integrates the different skills and then transfer them into a real teaching situation. The transfer stage is actually the synthetic stage of micro-teaching process, where skills are united to constitute a complex teaching behavior. Finally, coming to the merits and demerits of micro-teaching. We can discuss the merits and demerits of micro-teaching as the merits. Number 1, the complexity of teaching are reduced as the class size, content, and duration of class are reduced. Number 2, the teacher trainee can get feedback through audio, videotapes, or peer group or rating. Number 3, trainee can re-practice the skill till he is satisfied with his mastery of the teaching skill. Number 4, it is an important effective training for improving teaching behavior. Number 5, this technique helps teacher trainees to master teaching skills before they become real teachers. Now coming to the demerits. Number 1, It may keep the teacher trainees away from the real classroom problems. Number 2, since the emphasis is on one teaching skill at a time, it lacks the overall composite teaching behavior because teaching is just not one skill. Number 3, it is a time-consuming technique since one trainee practices a skill in about 35 minutes. Number 4, since the main focus is on teach and reteach, less importance is given to integrating teaching skills. Finally, coming to the conclusion. Micro-teaching is thus a teacher training procedure which reduces the teaching situation to simpler and more controlled encounters, achieved by limiting the practice teaching to a specific skill and reducing the teaching time and class size. The most important quality of the participants of micro-teaching session is the ability to give and receive constructive feedback with an open mind and achieves appropriate teaching learning goals. It also increases self-confidence of the teacher in a friendly atmosphere. It helps to bring about desired changes in pupil teachers. The behaviors are measurable and trainable. So, we can conclude that micro-teaching can be used for mastery of teaching skills and to improve the teacher behavior.